The Citizens for Kerner sponsors Dateline Glenview.
I'm Otto Kerner of Glenview, Democratic candidate for governor. Superhighways are necessary, but not all road fronts should be spent this way. I will support a balanced road program that will give good, safe local roads to service all people in all parts of the state.
United States Senator Paul H. Douglas has one of the greatest records of fighting for the people's interest. Re-elect the People's Senator, Paul H. Douglas of Illinois.
Channel 5, Chicago. The program originally scheduled at this time will not be broadcast. From the Chicago Stadium in Chicago, Illinois, the following broadcast will be a speech by Senator John F. Kennedy on behalf of his candidacy for the office of President of the United States. Senator Kennedy will be introduced by the mayor of Chicago, the Honorable Richard J. Daley. This broadcast is being paid for by the Democratic Party of Cook County, Illinois.
Gentlemen of the United States, this is Vince Garrity broadcasting from the Chicago Stadium in the center of Chicago, where we have been watching America's greatest political parade, a torchlight salute to John Kennedy, sponsored by the Democratic Party of Cook County under the leadership of Mayor Richard J. Daley. More than 300 floats, bands, marching units have been parading here for over 2.5 long hours, watched by 1.5 million persons in Chicago. In a few moments, we will go into the stadium for an address by Senator John F. Kennedy to some 30,000 fans who have been waiting for hours to hear his speech. By the way, these floats that you see and these people you see represent all the communities of Cook County, all of labor, young people, and political organizations and church affiliations alike. As you can see, the crowd in front of the stadium, it's estimated by Andy Frayne, the chief usher, that there are over 250,000 people on the outside, 30,000 people on the inside of the stadium. We're now in the Chicago Stadium, where we see pictures of Jack Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, and of course, Mayor Daley. It's been raining in downtown Chicago for the past 4.5 hours. Gentlemen, now we take you inside of the stadium where Senator John Kennedy and Mayor Daley are about to make their entrance. There they are, ladies and gentlemen, with Andy Frayne and Mayor Daley.
of the United States, Senator John F. Kennedy.
Distinguished members, my distinguished colleagues in the Congress, my friend and colleague in the United States Senate and the next senator from Illinois, Senator Paul Douglas, the next governor of the state of Illinois, Otto Kerner, Mayor Daley, I come here tonight in the closing days of this campaign and ask your help. I ask you to join us. In 3 days, on Tuesday, November 8th, this campaign will come to an end. And then the people of the United States must make their judgment, not only between the two candidates, not only between our two parties, but also between the two philosophies of government which we represent, the two views we have of our country's future, and I, on that basis, ask your support. I want to make it very clear that contrary to what you may have come to think this week, we are not electing a committee, President of the United States. I have seen pictures in the paper of the rescue squad. Nelson Rockefeller, Thomas E. Dewey, Cabot Lodge, and I understand they're adding Alf Landon to their strategy board this weekend on how to win this campaign. I want to make it very clear that they're not all running for the presidency. Mr. Nixon's running. He's the one the people have to decide on. You have to choose between Mr. Nixon and the Republican Party and Mr. Kennedy and the Democratic Party. You have all seen elephants in the circus, and you have seen how they grab the tail of the elephant in front of them, and they pull themselves around that way. Mr. Nixon grabbed that tail in 1952 and 1956, but now he's running, not President Eisenhower, Mr. Nixon. I fly back to the East to finish the last 3 days of this campaign, and then I await the results in Massachusetts with my wife and my daughter. Whatever the outcome may be, I shall not forget the last few months. It has taken me to every section of the United States, and I have visited the famous ancient places of Valley Forge, Hyde Park, Warm Springs, Springfield, Illinois, and the Alamo. I have seen our nation's last frontier in Alaska, and this morning I saw our nation's first frontier in Virginia. I have seen America, and I'm proud to be an American. There are some who say that presidential campaigns are outmoded. They last too long. They're expensive. They're too arduous. They test popularity, not principle. They require endurance, not insight. How much better it would be, they say, for the candidates to stay home, to keep quiet, depend in the old days on the party managers to circulate the party record. But I disagree. I believe the nature of the campaign tells you something about the nature of the candidate. I believe that the level of daily speeches of a candidate tell you something about what kind of a president he would make. If a candidate for the presidency cannot stand the pressure of a campaign or of a fifth debate, he cannot withstand the pressure of a presidency. If he cannot inspire confidence among the American people in the 4 months preceding election, he cannot maintain their confidence in the 4 years of office. In this campaign, I have tried to do the following things. First, I have tried to tell the truth to the American people. Whether that truth was pleasant or not, I sought to serve the American people, not to please them. I did not reassure the voters that our prestige was at an all-time high, because that would not have been true. And anti-American riots in Tokyo and Caracas, American setbacks in the UN and in the Organization of American States, and speeches in Panama and in Havana made this clear long before the USIA polls were leaked to the press. I did not tell the voters that regardless of what kind of an effort we make in the next 12 months, we were bound to remain first militarily, because that would not necessarily have been true. We are now entering the age of the missile gap, when Russian nuclear striking power, backed up by larger, more mobile, conventional forces, may no longer necessarily convince the Russians of our capacity to survive a surprise attack and also to be able to strike back at their willingness to fight. Nor did I reassure the voters that we were enjoying unprecedented prosperity, quote unquote, because that would not have been true. There's no point in telling the more than 5 million unemployed Americans, the 3 million Americans who work part-time, the farmer with a declining income, or the coal miner in southern Illinois, or in Kentucky, or West Virginia, or Pennsylvania, who's been out of work for months, that he never had it so good. This country will never get action unless we first face the truth. Secondly, I have tried in this campaign to set before the American people their unfinished agenda. The task which Franklin Roosevelt could not have foreseen in the 1930s. The task which President Truman could not complete by 1953. We have, for example, a minimum wage of $1 an hour, and there are millions of Americans who do not even receive it. I believe $1.25 an hour is little enough. We have a Social Security system, but it pays the 16 million Americans who live over the age of 65. It pays them an average Social Security check of less than $72 a month. I believe that medical care for the aged tied to Social Security must be passed by the next Congress and signed by the President. We have 15 million American homes in the United States that are substandard. 5 million American homes in the cities of the United States that lack plumbing of any kind. And yet, in spite of the fact that our population is steadily increasing, this year in September, we built 30% less homes than we did a year ago. I believe we're going to do better. We need legislation to help those Americans who live in those areas of chronic depression. The Congress twice, under the leadership of Senator Douglas, has tried to pass a bill to assist them, and twice this administration has vetoed it, and next year the President will sign it. And we have millions of Americans whose full and equal rights under the Constitution, regardless of their race or their creed or their color, has been recognized in law but unfulfilled in fact. These are some of the items left over for the 1960s, and it is to this agenda that we shall devote ourselves in January 1961. Thirdly, I have in this campaign not merely attempted to prolong the present, but look forward to the future. If we are to educate all of our children in the next 10 years who will be going to our schools and applying to our colleges, we will need more teachers than we now have in the service by double. And we want to make sure that they're well compensated and well trained. By 1970, there will be twice as many of your sons and daughters, twice as many, applying for admission to college as applied this year. And to make it possible for them to have the education that they deserve, we're going to have to build as many college dormitories and classrooms in the next 10 years as we've built in the last 200. These are some of the problems that this United States of ours faces, some of the opportunities. And I want to make it clear, as an American, that I'm not satisfied to have 35% of our brightest boys and girls who graduate from high school never see the inside of a college because they can't afford to go. Ten years ago, we produced twice as many scientists and engineers as the Soviet Union. Last year, they produced twice as many as we do. And we lost the talent of 35% of our boys and girls. Of all the waste of our resources, there is the greatest, and it shall not continue. These are new areas of concern. The spread of nuclear weapons. There is a possibility by 1962 that communist China will have an atomic capacity. The conversion of fresh water from salt water. Can you imagine what that will do for the world? The first country that's able to do that will earn far more prestige than we lost by being second in outer space. The harnessing of atomic energy for peaceful use. The conquest of outer space. not merely for military advantage, but for the service of all mankind. These are some of the opportunities that stretched before our country in the 1960s. Fourth, I've tried in this campaign to emphasize that we must face up to all of our problems and opportunities realistically. As long as we have $9 billion worth of food stored and in some cases rotting away, while hundreds of millions of people go to bed without a decent diet around the world, we should not be satisfied. We have to improve our distribution and through local farmer action, adjust supply and demand. The average wage for a dairy farmer, his average wage per hour in Wisconsin or Minnesota is about 55 cents an hour. A cotton grower in South Carolina who could make a living 20 years ago now lives a thin existence off his land because the policies followed by Mr. Benson and this administration have driven his income steadily down. And as a result, the farm implement companies of Illinois have let off nearly 11,000 of their employees during the fall of 1960 in the state of Illinois. The catastrophic arms race, more costly than all of our budget put together, more costly than all of the other things which we pay for, cannot be eliminated merely by wishful thinking. But isn't it a somber fact that this administration has had less than 100 people working in the entire national government on the subject of disarmament, 1/5 as many as work for the United States Battle Monuments Commission, 1/5 as many as work for the United States Battle Monument Commission are working on disarmament in this administration. 100 people scattered throughout the entire national government. And we cannot avoid the menace of a communist base on Cuba, only 90 miles from our shores, merely by wishing it hadn't happened, though I wish it hadn't. I wish this administration had been as alert to that as they now say they will be about other problems. But Castro is not the only problem, and we have to make sure in the 1960s that other Castros do not arise. For poverty and despair are equal evils in Latin America. In northeast Brazil, where living standards are so miserable that in 2 villages this year not one baby lived beyond 1 year of age. What are the chances of freedom in that country under those conditions if we continue to ignore our neighbors to the south? We need a program of concerted effort of attack on these problems in Latin America, or otherwise Castros are going to spring up all over South America in the next 5 years. We need an America that's growing. Freedom will be as secure around the world. Our foreign policy will be just as vigorous as we are here in the United States. If we are not moving forward, if we are not developing our economic growth, and that is the key to the future. This year we've dropped back rather than going ahead. That is the reason that we're using only 50% of the capacity of our steel mills, because we're not moving our economy forward. And all the talk and all the speeches that may be held on fiscal responsibility, the whole point, the whole question of balancing our budget depends upon our moving our economy forward. The largest unbalanced budget in the history of the United States was 2 years ago, $12 billion because of the recession of 1958. Already this administration has predicted a tax lowering of $4 billion worth of receipts, not because expenditures have gone up, but because of the slowdown in the American economy. The key to the future of the United States, the key to our foreign policy, the key to our national defense It depends on our maintaining full employment in the United States. Depends upon our using our facilities and our manpower. Then we can meet these programs and meet our obligations and move ahead. But this administration has permitted a recession in 1954, a recession in 1958, and now in 1960 we begin to slide again, possibly to a recession in 1961. These are the issues in this campaign. A strong America, an America that is committed to peace, and I know something of war, an America that's committed to peace by firmness, by resolution, by perseverance, by holding out the hand of friendship to those who wish to be friends, and maintaining our position of comity with those other countries who desire to be free, by letting young Americans serve the cause of freedom as servants of peace around the world, working for freedom as the communists work for their system. I want to demonstrate to Mr. Khrushchev and others that a new generation of Americans has taken over in this country, men who are committed to the maintenance of freedom in the 1960s. And with your help, we shall do it. I believe that as a counter to the flood of well-trained and competent tacticians now helping nations with their problems which the communists are sending out, I believe an American Peace Corps as a supplement to our selective service that now draws only a fraction of our young men could be trained to help these people live a life of freedom in agriculture, in handiwork, in road building, in government and other skills.
Because the time purchased has expired, this program is now being concluded. You have just heard Senator John F. Kennedy on behalf of his candidacy for the office of President of the United States. Time for this broadcast was purchased by the Democratic Party of Cook County, Illinois.